view
that's
in.
not very good. Like leave now?
No, that's right. I'm just trying to get. All right, we are live on YouTube. Hello, YouTube, if you're here. We're here too. Now, I'm going to actually record the thing. I'm going to turn down. So, hopefully. Oh, let's see if this records a little better.
Yeah, right after you start.
I'll be watching.
No, I've so far I've just been like going for it.
Just yeah.
So, I'm gonna do like 1, 2, 3, whatever. Anyone live? If I don't have any live. I'm gonna say like 1, 2, 3, clap and go, so I can line up audio. And I'm gonna do a little blurb quick, and then I'll introduce you, and then we'll just start.
Let me know.
Yeah.
The audio where you were at, where you were talking,
Uh-huh.
that was working really well.
Really? Okay, I think the game's working.
Like right
I
now.
can hear pretty well.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Let me see. Hold on. Yeah.
Me. I like to be heard.
No, yeah, I can hear you real well.
Okay,
Cool.
I like audio.
Yeah, right. I need to get a nicer setup for all this. What?
If you want, I know this is technical, but if you want to bend the camera down a little bit lower.
A little bit lower?
Yeah, you guys are kind of cut off over your name.
Okay.
No, there's just so much extra room.
Hey, okay.
Get that logo.
Just
in.
get right
Yep, yeah, I'm trying to make sure I get the logo in.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's good.
Everyone ready? All right. 1, 2, 3. Welcome to the Skulls and Knives podcast. Make sure you check out our Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all that good shit. If you're watching YouTube right now, link to the podcast is going to be anchor.fm/skulls and knives. That'll link you to everywhere that we're on audioly. Also, I recently became affiliated with Rogue American Apparel. There's going to be a link in the bio and the show notes of this, etc. Make sure you go click on that link if you want some dope American stuff. Lots of tactical based things, and like they have like rash guards and shit. If you're into jiu-jitsu or any form of MMA, they got a bunch of shit for that. They got patches for your combat backpacks and stuff like that. So yeah, make sure you click the link, buy a sticker or whatnot. Every $5 you buy there right now gets you a free entry into winning a trip to their gym and their store, a bunch of free swag, and a muscle car. They're giving away a fucking car. Anyways, yeah, they're really cool. Everything American about America is Rogue American Apparel. Anyways, so putting the book away. This is my guest, Eric. Hi, Eric.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad you're here too. What you drinking, PBR?
You have provided me with a 24 fluid ounces of America's finest, which may even be made in America. We're not sure.
Oh, probably.
Half Blue Ribbon. Yeah.
Nice. I'm drinking $2.50 wine.
Wow.
I won't show the camera good enough for you to see the
Is
brand.
The same amount. Or is it this one?
So that was $2. And this was only 50 cents.
Okay.
But it's Sauvignon Blanc, which I like Sauvignon Blanc, and well, I'll just say it, Oak Leaf. Although I don't endorse them at all, Sauvignon Blanc is not bad out of a plastic kid's.
I'm going straight out of the can.
Hell yeah. So gosh, we haven't had a long conversation
No,
in a while.
I like on the bus ride over here. So I wrote down on the bus ride over here. I was like, in essentially like 5 years since we've had like, conversation.
Exactly.
Like every bit of how I like identify has changed. So I was like, I just made like an adjective list of like how I identified 5 years ago, and it's like different.
Yeah.
Um,
So let's go. What 5 years ago?
so 5 years. I'm gonna.
Yeah.
I'm gonna read. I just literally wrote one sentence, and I was like,
because Eric moved out here right before I did.
yeah, you're only out here for like 6-7 months.
Yeah, and then I came to help out with living in, which turned into me not helping out as much as
Turned to me not doing it. That was.
I don't think I've ever formally apologized for that, but I'm totally
no.
apologizing now for
no.
like kind of letting that fall through.
So for anyone listening who doesn't know what we're talking about, too, Living In was a nonprofit that I used to run. That I don't even know you know, like it officially shut down. Like just.
Oh really?
Like, it was always just kind of back for like, but now it's just you have to close it out. But it was a local mental health nonprofit that Caleb came out to intern for, and
really
you helped a little.
I helped a couple times.
And then your whole life changed too.
Yeah,
so,
totally. Anna says sorry. She's solely responsible. But yeah.
Tinder might be solely
Yeah.
responsible. Yes.
Tinder matched us. We'll blame Tinder.
Yeah, let's do that. So I wrote since the last time we spent significant time together about 5 years ago, I went from a married, monogamous, straight Christian male to a divorced, dating, polyamorous, queer, agnostic, non-binary person. So I don't know. What to do there, but like, I just love that. It's like it's changed.
Yeah.
But I like it too because I still feel the same.
Yeah.
Like I just understand myself better.
So do you? I was just gonna ask. So do you think, like, for instance, specifically the non-binary aspect of it is really interesting. Why are you ghost tattoo?
Ghost tattoo.
Yeah, the stick and poke. Really good.
Real good. One of my.
Yeah. Anyways, how did that work for you? Because I know that some people I know have had experiences where it was like a slow realization, or like almost like they knew later on in life that that's how they identified, and they less see it as like it's always been kind of thing. Right. And I also hear from people that it's like oh no, I've just, since I was born, I finally realized that like this whole time I felt this way.
Yeah.
And so I'm just curious.
I think for me it's mostly the second one.
Okay.
That it's kind of always been that. I just didn't have the way to express it or like know what that was.
Yeah.
I was always interested by like transgender, like I'm just hearing about that, one person like they're this gender or like and I always was like I always like something about it always like piqued my self-awareness.
Yeah.
But I was never like, okay, I'm not a woman. Like I know that I'm not like but that I just never felt being grouped with men or I just never felt like, and especially like church world, like any idea of like what a role of what a man is supposed to be was just always so angry, appalling to me, and like my ex-wife still like we just laugh sometimes when I see like old Facebook, just like faking masculinity, like in this weird like outward thing. And they used to do like Date Night Phoenix at the church.
Don't worry, I talk about mission all the
time. Yeah, I know. But yeah, no. But But yeah, no, it's just weird. And so like I think it was really meeting another non-binary person who was like a young person who worked at the last job that I was working at, Lex, and we just had really good conversations with each other about like, and they were assigned female at birth. And they were using she or they pronouns, and I was using he or they pronouns. Like, and we just had lots of conversations about, what does that feel like, and like, why do we think that? And it was really both of us stories kind of coming together, and then we were the first people who were like, what if we only call each other? Like, we were the ones who started it for each other, and we were like, oh my gosh, I feel like myself.
Yeah.
My mom hates it, but, just because it's confusing to her.
Yeah.
But no, but no.
So
yeah.
So what was it like? Like, and you can tell me if this is too personal, but like having those conversations with Courtney and like your mom as well, and her family, and
yeah.
What was? I mean, I imagine it's super scary.
But... yeah, it was a weird kind of coming out thing, and I was already like, I was already divorced when that like came about. Courtney, I think, was the first person like that had known me for a long time, and she was very understanding, and I expected she like, got it immediately. Family's harder, just like my mom's harder. There's a traditional issue. There's also like I also aware that like living in a where like someone actually might ask my pronouns, like isn't gonna happen in a lot of places. And I was also in a work bubble when I was working at storage coordinator.
Heard.
But yeah, it was just like so it was kind of scary. Mostly it wasn't scary like I was gonna be judged. It was more scary that I'm going to introduce the concept. It's not going to be used.
So were your so you mentioned your mom. Is your dad still in your life?
My dad passed away when I was 16.
Okay, I couldn't.
Which also like I feel like as I've explored gender things, like I don't have a significant like very very close long term since my dad died. So I don't know. I don't know what that is, but it's something.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, just my mom and my sister is my
main. And have they been taking it well since you came out? And again, if
they're trying.
They're trying. Okay.
They're trying.
And that's worth something. Like at least trying.
It is. And like a recent conversation with my mom was good, and I was like, "Why don't you?" Because she'd be like, she'll say like, "Man," or like talking about things, and she'll like, "I'm working on it. I'm working on it." And I was like, "Well, it would be great if you worked on it when you weren't talking to." So I was like, what I know is that to like her friends, she's not like Eric or like my adult kid and Portland. She's just know that. And so like that part's frustrating. You're working on it to placate me, but I don't need you to placate me. I want you to respect.
Yeah. And that's something that I always, I think I caught myself. Oh no, I think I called you dude, and I was really high, and I was like, oh, what if dude offended them? Oh no, and then use dude for cat, and I use dude when I drop something. Dude might be okay. Dude, okay.
Dude is okay with me. I think like in the same way of any kind of like identity, like kids.
Yeah.
But like, but I think it's always a good thing to check in with people. But for me, like, I do all the time. Like, yeah, Courtney and I like always call each other
Mhm.
wives. So like, and most of my significant friends have been women
Mhm.
that I've always called. So
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
dude doesn't have a gender to me.
Yeah, same to me. And so, but that was one of the things I was perfect because I used dude so much.
Yeah.
Like with you and my acquaintance that I used to see a lot when I was younger. I call everyone dude, so that's the one I was always worried about. For
Yeah.
the longest time with C at least, I like didn't call him dude. And one day I did it, and I was like, "Is dude okay?" Like I'm trying
Yeah.
to. And that's something with C and with you that I've done, like purposely putting in my mindset to when I'm talking about you guys, out of you guys being in the situation at all.
Yeah.
I am like trying really hard, and I correct myself when using your pronouns, and that's not just for you. That's also so when someone else, and like it just becomes more natural for me to use they them in a conversation about someone, regardless of what the outward look may say their gender is. And so that's been something that's been I can see how much it's helped doing that.
Yeah.
In like just a normal conversation.
Mhm.
I just use
Interacting with the world has been, like, just as far as like understanding my own gender, like I just always refer to people as people. Like, they're like, even if someone's annoying me, they're like, ugh, that person in the red shirt is driving me crazy. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if they're like in a store or anything, or just using other things to identify just like immediately like how you always use gender neutral pronouns for people until just been, I don't know, helpful for me just to think of the world.
that makes sense. I just always do. No, not
Even the red shirt.
everybody dude.
Yeah.
Everyone's dude. Yeah, so the you said polyamorous, right? So how does what so explain what I feel like most people know exactly
Yeah.
what you mean when
And
we're
there's
talking
also-
about non-binary genders and stuff like that. But what are you talking about when
Yeah, and there's also like layers of like misunderstanding about polyamory if you
Yeah.
know anything. So polyamorous, or probably like a better, like more descriptive word that has a little less on it, negative way at least, is like ethical non-monogamy. And so in that sense, it means that you don't have only one significant, like romantic or sexual partner, and you may only have one, but like the relationship is open in the sense that you could have other significant other sexual or romantic combo or not combo, but the ethical part of it is that it's fully communicated, understood. No one's speaking because everything is communicated. And I just was in a 3.5 year polyamorous January, and the entire time we were open and communicating, and it worked fairly well, especially the last year. They did good at making sure. And I also learned that like screw up royally, and that's not the same as like as if it's going. I can see you.
So like
Yeah.
So I get it like relationship wise. It's so sorry the weeds. But so it's right. I mean we have a big
yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah,
Like,
way to
very
drop your.
enthusiastic about
Hannah is providing. Thank you
Yes.
to Hannah.
Yes.
Check out Hannah's episode.
Yeah.
Golden Knight Rocket.
Yes. That's the last one.
Why is it push it or just?
Yeah, you gotta hold it down.
Yeah,
Same way you
it's
would like a
little
jewel.
stuff,
Yeah, it's decent.
You think I smoke jewels?
I feel like you've smoked vaporizers. No.
Yeah, the one that I've had. Just
Mhm.
less. Okay. Oh shit. That means I'm gonna get really high then.
Yeah.
Need some water?
He's got water. Or they've got water.
It's making me forget it. Oh god. Coughing has to be so loud.
Oh yeah. It'll make up for last episode being so quiet. That's how audio works, right? You
Yeah.
make one quiet one, you just put out a really fucking loud one.
So yeah.
Relationship wise, like I get that it's like, hey, or correct me if I'm wrong, is like you could date someone else with their permission, or no? Is it
not
more of like,
necessarily?
or is it more of like hooking up with someone?
Could be anything.
It could be anything.
It's a communicated and somewhat negotiated.
Mhm.
In my relationship that I had, like we had like other relationships, and we kind of kept going between whether or not we were each other's primary partner or if we were just each other's partner, but of it, we ended up just kind of defaulting meaning that we were kind of like, what did we call it? We called it anger partner actually, because it was like, this is the person that like keeps me like, but we didn't have any veto power. There's like a lot of books about it. There's like a book called Opening Up, and there's The Ethical Slut, or like the classic book about polyamory. Unfortunately, very white and for the most part, but it's kind of, but it's also very old. So, but anyway, like there's all different like ways that people format it. For me, it was one of the things that I figured out what I actually am. Me, but is consider myself an anarchist.
Okay.
So what that means is like each connection I make, whether it's friendship, romantic, sexual, or whatever, like if I'm going to keep them in my life, they're important to me, and like I'm going to let that connection form whatever it's supposed to. And I'm not going to like put a label on it right away. Like I feel like I have deep, good connections with people, and I don't love labeling, ranking them or saying more important. And like how that kind of played out sometimes was I had like platonic friends who would they needed my time or my like emotional energy, and I had a partner, like a romantic partner, they need me. And that was understood. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But
yeah, no, it does.
But yeah, like there was definitely like we had developed like a whole communication around it of like, because she was a little bit more into like hooking up for a certain amount of time. So hey, use protection, be safe, if anything doesn't happen that way.
Yeah.
Whereas I was more seeking relationships for whatever reason. Never got any relationships, and she got into multiple relationships. But yeah, so just a ton of communication. I love. Like that's my favorite part of it. Is communication. Like that's my favorite part of a relationship, which is great. But it's like a silly thing. It's like I just love talking about things.
Yeah.
I also had this weird ability to not be jealous, or like I don't have jealous feelings, so that lifestyle really worked for me. Just don't think of it that way. I don't.
Yeah.
For whatever reason.
Yeah. So, so do you? I don't know why I'm having such these words. Crazy. Literally, this is just the weed flowing in all.
Oh yeah,
thoughts,
for sure.
Like crazy.
I'm glad to be on a little bit of that plane right now.
Yeah, just like to chill out. But so another, if I remember correctly, adverb you used was queer, and so I know that queer can be like a very general term, and that's probably why you used it. So when you're looking for these relationships, who is gender a thing for you?
Not. It's not like so like on my Tinder, which I'm on there.
Yeah.
Like I have all gender. Well, I'm open to gender identity, like dating and gender identity. In typical, just because my brain and how I view the world, like men.
Yeah.
And so like it's a weird thing because I do feel attraction to certain men, but like for the most part I can't with them very well.
Is it like mainly like macho?
Yeah, and I think there's just and it's just maybe it's my relationship with masculinity in general. Like I just get, I don't know, I'm just such an emotional person. Like that's the first thing I want to learn about people. It's like tell me about your bigger, like, and I just don't have, and I haven't had good experiences, and we're like emotional.
Yeah.
So that makes it a little bit leaning towards women, but I've.
Oh, I was just gonna say something silly, but like, so like if some James Bond looking dude comes up and is like, as the picture of, well, I should say the polished picture of toxic masculinity, but they're like super open with you straight up from the bat. Is that something that's still interesting, or?
Well, like their picture might already just. I might be judging a book by its cover there. Despite the bad way.
Yeah. Suit open, gun showing, flying through an explosion.
But yeah, no, I mean people definitely can break the facade of it. I mean, as a non-binary person who presents very male, like I get the inside is not feeling matching outside. But it's something
but yeah, so have you been in relationships with or non-binary?
I've been in relationships with gender questioning people, as far as like which is like and good too. It's like wearing that. But yeah, I'm open to that. And that's another reason I would use the word queer. It's also it's like wider because it includes like all genders. There's arguments that things. I mean, your gender and a different gender.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I just have the term queer. Because I think it's more. And I like the idea that word has like gay. It's like been taken.
Yeah.
From which is also another thing that's for people who are just outside of the bubble that I might be living in. Because I remember I said that on my Instagram. So it's cool. My mom was ridiculous. I get it. I just don't like that word. I don't want you to use that word. People are going to be offended by that word. And I was like, I'm saying I'm that word.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not
Like,
offended.
Yeah. The only
And the
people
people
that would be offended would be people like me. Like,
Yeah, but she's like, oh, what about these people? These and there's people like her. She's offended by it, or she thinks she's.
mm, yeah. Imagine that, especially someone different. But yeah. What are some more adjectives? I'm curious.
So
I mean, like, what do you
let's
talk
see,
about?
queer, polyamorous, divorced, agnostic.
Yeah, let's talk about that one.
I know you like talking about religion.
Yes, I love talking
I
about
know you
religion. It's one of my favorite things.
Yeah, agnostic. What do you want to know?
What started you on that thought? I know because I consider myself an agnostic, universalist kind of ideal thing. Like, to put in short, I think that every religion in the world touches on something close and good to what quote unquote God is, but I don't think any of us know at all or have any idea of what that actually is yet.
Yeah.
And so we may never. And so that's where the agnostic side comes in. Like, I think there's something else, but I don't think any of us know what it is. And so, like, where I draw from that is especially like reading in the psychedelics and some psychedelic experiences I had while meditating, and doing different breathing exercises and stuff like that. Very, very mild psychedelic experiences. Still there, like opening that part of your mind and like kind of seeing in the other side a little bit. It's kind of how I see it. Yeah, exactly. But I don't think, and just going back to my question where that all started. For me, it started like right. And I kind of talked about this on the last podcast, but alas, no one audibly heard it because it got all fucked up on Facebook.
I like
Audially. It's like aioli, but
yeah.
it sounds. Basically, from the time I got back from on a mission trip.
How old were you?
I was 16, 17, and that started me on the idea of like mainly that was like the starting point of going, oh, I don't think God of the Bible is a real thing, and that's like I remember the next week the Quran, and that's the week that I started really diving into all these different religions and starting to like see, oh well, if I don't think this is right, so then who's right? And it's been this lifelong struggle since then, and I didn't really come out about it until I moved here, mainly because I'm involved with the church.
Did you call it a struggle? It's a lifelong struggle. Do you call it a struggle because it's the world that you were surrounded by?
No, I call it a struggle more because I'm still constantly questioning what I'm. So, for instance, I still have the Bible right up there on top of that microwave, and I crack it open once a week.
What translation?
That's New King James or the King James. Oh yeah, that's what I learned. That's what I learned on. So like, that's the verses that I remember most. Because from a young kid, it was like half. Which, for those of you who haven't read the Bible, the King James version is probably the hardest English language version of it. It's like it's Old English.
It's like that fake Old English that you would make fun of. So
yeah,
like thou must have art.
Yes.
Young Shakespeare.
Yeah, exactly. And so, anyways, I still pop that open. I have all of Buddha's texts on an app, and I'm still reading all of that. Digital. And then on top of that, I'm constantly reading new philosophies and reading about new religions and deeper and deeper into different religions like Buddhism, like, especially a lot about Christianity lately, like really reading into like what have I missed the past 5 years, mainly philosophically with Christianity. And so I call it. Sorry to bring it all back. I call it a struggle because I'm purposely forcing myself to constantly struggle with that question. And so it's to me,
Fun struggle.
it's a fun
Because struggle sounds like negative. That's why I asked.
Yeah. No, it's almost like wrestling.
Okay.
So like,
You like
I like wrestling. Okay. I like it as a sport.
Yeah,
It's a cool sport. But in order to train and still learn that whole sport, we still have to constantly work on it. Yeah. Basically, the struggle of tackling and like doing different moves and training with people and training with people who have completely different techniques than you and all that kind of stuff. So in that way of like becoming a professional like not a pro like this pro wrestling, but like a Olympic like American wrestler.
Yeah.
Is similarly to how I view philosophy and religion. So it's something that is like constantly looking at, but I'm forcing myself to struggle through it all the time.
Do you feel like you're gonna land somewhere, or are you still figuring?
I hope I continue to do that. I don't know if I'll land anywhere. I'm really open about landing somewhere, but I don't think I ever will because every single time I find something that like looks like a kernel good.
Yeah.
Oh, this doesn't make sense. Oh wait, this makes sense. So
hit some kind of wall.
Yeah, and then this cycle continues. And so anyway, so long and short of it is, what started you in the path to?
Well, unlike you, I was not raised in any. So I feel like I was almost raised agnostic, almost. Like I would hear the Jesus story like I don't understand how that relates to anything. Like, because it would just be out of the blue.
Yeah.
And it was because my mom just had like Catholic kids. I'm like, I have to mention the Jesus thing because this is like his day. And it was, and so we were just like, I don't know why we're reading this. Like, we had like a storybook of like I think both of those stories were at least. And it was like the Bible illustrated, but it's just only that story. We'd read it every Christmas. I mean, other than that, like I had no religion, and like I would go to like church with friends sometimes, but it was just like, I don't know what's happening, and like I just was confused. So it wasn't. So I almost would consider myself agnostic most. Then it was 16. It was after my father died. Crush on a girl who was my best friend, and I just wanted to spend as much time with her as I could. So she went to church, and so I just started going to church with her. And there was something that made sense to me. There was something about the community of the place, and there was something about the story of Jesus that I thought really beautiful and like hit me differently. Especially as like it was what was so interesting to me is what I understood about Christianity as a teenager, that was helpful to me as like an emo, self-deprecating like teen, was that like my view of Christianity at the time, and still why I think it's a beautiful story. It's like so many religions say like you are good, better. You're good, but better. And Christianity's like you're fucking the worst. You're the worst. You're a real piece of shit. But listen, someone loves you, and they did this very like the biggest act, so that there can be this thing that makes you look worthy of love, and like, and just that story to me as like a sad teenager really like connected with me, and I loved the community element, and I loved that like people would pray for each other, like I loved that. Especially in youth group, like as adults, like we're like, oh, I'll pray about it. But like in youth groups or small groups, I guess, when I would hear people like pray for someone else, it really just awakened that in me. So I went into Christianity at 16, got baptized. I guess I went into it. I got baptized on my 18th birthday. But most people in my world at the time had been raised in it. That's all they knew. And if I'm honest, and I was even honest at the time that I never was 100%. Not that anyone's ever 100%.
Yeah.
But I wasn't a very high percentage. Like being in that so deeply in that world and eventually working in it.
Yeah.
I was always filled with doubt. Like I never filled with doubt. Like it always felt like at best probably 40. You know, like always.
Yeah.
And so even like deepest into it, like I was always filled with doubt. And so it was coming out here and separating, moving from Arizona to here, like separating myself from that.
Yeah.
And being able to just like be Courtney and I, and just to be like, hey, we can go to church, and we did, and we even like did some like small group when we first got to Portland, but like we didn't feel a responsibility because there was no there like telling us to do it or like doing it. I wasn't in that church world anymore, and so like which I hated being professional. But
Totally.
that was a mistake I made. So yeah, it was really just being separated from the community and then understanding things, and like there's a whole other thing about like sexuality and how that played out in my marriage or didn't play out in my marriage. Like sexuality, I mean like sexual thing, not like sexuality. How much Christianity fucked that up for Courtney and for myself eventually. It was easy for me to be like, I don't want to be part of this. And then I don't think I really believed in these words at the time that I needed it. So I guess right now where I would land is like an agnostic. It's like I'm never gonna say I don't think I'll ever be an atheist. But like I just like I still feel like I believe things happen for a reason. I really like music. That's kind of where I go. So I'm not doing what you're doing. I chose to opt out of the struggle. I guess.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I believe things happen for a reason, and connections to people and music make me feel good.
And like, so I've also toyed with like, my problem with it is that I almost feel, and again, atheist for saying this because it doesn't make any sense to me, but from a philosophical standpoint, I feel much better on the agnostic if I said, oh, there's nothing to this at all. And so, although I've toyed with that, it almost seems like opt out, and that's where an atheist. I feel like, it's like okay, but once you become an atheist, then you can say, oh, all that shit's no lie. Oh, I don't care about all this other thought. I don't care about the science that's behind science and science-based. And therefore, in my opinion, at least, you go full atheist, you're basically so you're in the religion of no religion, and you're in the religion of no philosophy other than wrong. And so, in those two ways of singling out your philosophy, and then also, choosing to say that everyone else is wrong in every way possible, just isolating yourself that religion. And therefore, for me, like opting all the way full, even if you're not reading stuff, I think you're a much better place mentally with most things in general, not even just, but being in a more like I'm cool with whatever. Like I'm like in a very like limbo place. Open, yes. Being very, very open, very, very much on the fence. And I mean that leads into my politics and everything. I mean, even though on the that little politics questionnaire thing, it was like, you're a full on communist. And I'm like, yeah, I kinda know that, but but
To take that.
what's that?
I'll have to take that.
Oh, you should. It's fun. Honestly, it was fun because I thought I was moving kind of closer, like more democratic socialism. Because
Right.
I've been planning this debate and have with my dad on a later podcast, libertarian. Um, and so
So that they have those.
yeah,
they still make
do.
those.
Dude, they still make those. Oh my god. Well, like one of the number one or in the top 10 podcasts consistently in the world right now is Part of the Problem, which I listen to. It's actually a really good podcast because, well, there's a comedian who's the main. I like him as a person and as a comedian. That's why I started listening to it. But he's libertarian, and the whole podcast is about point of view. And it's like one of the top podcasts in the world. They're around, and it's interesting too when you look at like I know it's silly, but like when you look at the Reddit pages, right? So anyone can join a Reddit page, but the Reddit page titled "Libertarian" has like hundreds of thousands of people, and then the one labeled "Socialist" has like 1,000 people.
Interesting.
Subreddit to it, so it's like especially on the back, I would say like not dark web, but the back side of the web, like not on mainstream forums and stuff like that. There's a huge libertarian movement on us.
Interesting. Well, and I think too, like democratic socialism. We're talking about like words and like, them trying to be like spun or like being like cannot as a positive.
Yeah.
Even if like everything they believe is that thing.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, and it's interesting too. I mean, I know it's splitting hairs here, but interesting too that Bernie Sanders calls him a democratic socialist because if you look at like an actual democratic socialist, like run down the middle policy versus what he's doing, you're looking at something way, way closer to Democrat than you are actually. So the term for that space in the middle is technically a social democrat. And I almost am like, why didn't you just use that? It's not. You didn't.
They'll
have
just
the
think you're a Democrat that likes to talk to people.
Yeah, like he's a social democrat.
Yeah, that would have made more sense.
Yeah, and so
my mom wouldn't be upset.
Yeah, it's weird how much IST uses a word.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And so, and even those two things are not far apart. We're looking on the general map of politics. They're less than a finger away from each other. Like,
yeah.
And so it's interesting. But yeah, that's another.
With your dad.
Yeah, so I'm in a debate with my dad about it. Me taking it from, I'm calling it a general socialist view because, like, although policy wise, it's pretty obvious at a national level that I would line up with communists. I'm also very much socially liberal, and so whereas, so instance, the pie chart, right, of things like at the top you have bottom you have ultra, basically the opposite anarchy, the ultra-ness of being liberal. And then you have communist over here, and then you have capitalist, communist. I'm somewhere over here. So I'm down where it's the dots all the way to the end, full blown communist, but closer down to the bottom left corner where you're going to see anarchy. I would not call myself an anarcho-communist because that would be all the way in the bottom of the corner. But for instance, so anyways, that's where like out of a test, if you're going to ask me what I think about different issues specifically, that's where I'm going to end up. But when I talk about the structure of the government that runs something like that, it's very much more on the on a democratic side than it is on a socialist or on a communist or anarcho view. And so, like, I still believe in democracy as it is, just changing a few things. For instance, the getting rid of the Senate and Congress and changing them into one big thing that's based around unions rather than actual location where people live. It's based on your trade. And so you have larger unions that represent, the electric workers, and they would be up at the top where now, or steel workers, and they'd be up at the top. But when you look at further down the line, those larger unions are made up of, steel, for instance, the steel union would be made up of the welders, the guys who weld, the guys who, build, forge the steel, etc. You'd have all the jobs encompassed under like this person's representing this industry, and this person's representing this industry. And those positions also would be rotated within the union elected. So the union would elect a board, and then rotationally that board would represent people of that union.
Yeah.
However, to be like put on the board of the union, you have to be a steel worker.
Sure.
And part of the steelworkers union. Outside.
You're saying just a government that represents.
Exactly.
And so, supposed to be the idea.
Yeah, exactly. So like truly representing the people and then basing it off of something other than region, because I think with expansion of technology and culture intermingling, et cetera, more and more, basically as the large world gets smaller and smaller, I think you're going to have a lot less, as time goes on, a lot less people identifying solely with like, oh, I'm from South Carolina, blah, 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 blah. Like, I mean, you already see Valley girls in Portland that grew up in Portland. They're talking like a Valley girl from SoCal. You're like, how did that happen? Oh, you surrounded your social media with all these people that talk like that. Yeah, the communities are internet based. It's not necessarily.
And that's also generational.
Yeah, exactly. And that's something that I think is going to be more important. Is going to be more based on where you line up as a general idea of a person rather than, oh, you're from this square.
I do think it's interesting that you're connecting it.
Well, that's partially because you already have the structure in place. These unions already have single head representatives, exactly what I'm talking about, and this triangular structure based on this general idea already in place. And so that's one part, is that the structure is already in place. You just have to expand this. And B, I think a large part of what you do is also do with your thoughts. So maybe a union based on what you exactly.
I don't agree with that.
Yeah,
I get the idea of expanding this to be more decision makers.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that actually might have to do more with region than you would want it to.
Yeah.
Region, education levels, and ability, like levels of economic level. Like, I don't know. Like, would you say that like we can stereotype like a steel worker?
Yeah.
But like, I don't know if they identify if it wasn't, especially if it wasn't because of their region. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I totally get what you mean.
Or you're like,
no, I'm not mad or anything. I'm just
no.
Okay. No, I mean, you bring up a good point, and maybe it's just like an interim thing. And that's a lot of what I'm going to be facing it with my dad too. Is like, this is the next step. Like where we go from there can be chosen and divvied up. So something, for instance, when I was talking about the technologies earlier, I was thinking like, why don't you just have the general election, like full election, up ping on your phone,
And
you
they
go,
have
hey,
they like identify it's only this one person, fingerprint, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah. Like, okay, that fingerprint voted.
yeah, exactly, or something like that, and then maybe have the option of also having a in place that you can go to. But I was thinking that with the expansion of technology in this world, uh, the longer and longer it goes on, everyone's going to have some computer, and regardless of um, wage gap, eventually. Or it's I'm not saying that's not right now. I'm saying like in the future. Like so in the future, could we not we may not even need those entities. The Congress and legislature might be unnecessary because you could put in things to vote in the moment for everyone to be like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, I'll vote on that. Never you don't need the
So
representative.
interesting.
You are
Think
the
of that,
representative.
too, though, like to think of like, because my brain goes like,
Mhm.
okay, well, what if like a politician sponsors the app, and
Yeah.
like there's a and like how do
Well,
there's so many like
yeah. Well,
capitalistic like ideas that are gonna interrupt all.
exactly why I said
But who
before
knows?
you
That's a
start
long
on
time.
before you start on this road, which I think purely points what I think is that it points purely to needing something more communist to
Yeah.
control something like that. In the way of like control. So there's a fine line, right? And it's that line of whether you go totalitarian or more anarchic. And I think if you ride close to that line, you're not being totalitarian at all, but you're being democratic. So you're not being full anarcho. You're being very much like let the people decide, et cetera, et cetera. Um, try and eliminate corruption wherever you can. So that's another good thing with the rotational government of representatives. That's why I'm thinking about rotational people. Is that those you're having a less and less likely chance if someone's randomly chosen off of a very large old union that are elected by those union members and are still steel workers. That's the key point, is that all these people throughout the layers up in this specific branch would be like still do what you do. You just also do this now for a certain period of time. And then you're back. There is no like, oh, you get reelected to
Just
be
a
in the
random
rotation and stuff like
too.
that. Yeah.
Is now I start thinking of like gender gaps is great. Like I wonder how many women there are in leadership.
Yeah, I mean probably not many, to be real.
And if we're thinking of like unions in general, like already, I feel like the jobs or like the workforces that are sort of
Yeah, well, and a lot of that.
would
So again, just to pinpoint something about this whole union idea, is that right off the bat, if you changed to tomorrow, boom, you changed. It would not be only based off the unions we currently have. So you would unionize all citizens. Period. Do you have a job? No. Okay, you get placed in this type of union.
the online influencer union.
Well,
Real
yeah,
interesting.
exactly. And then where does that union have to fall under? Probably the entertainment or something like that. Some type of larger union. So I'm assuming you'd probably have something about the size of Congress, given everybody's different things, different jobs, and different, etc. Again, this is a general theory. It's not. And so, everyone who has typically female jobs, right? So like childcare workers, like although you did that.
I think I did it for a long time.
But another one would be
Which is
teachers.
yeah, good.
Yeah, but like all these stereotypical like woman jobs, right? You have those things would immediately be unionized. So everyone would have to be unionized. Then you would have, let's say, for instance, someone who is on, is retired but living off their pension from a steelworkers union. Either go, hey, I want to be represented by the steelworkers union, or they could go, oh, or the retirement union, or whatever. You would create a union, even though being in retirement is a job, you would still have that representation. It's what the idea of like, and then it would have a union. Sorry, Naruto. A union-like structure based off
I
everything.
think that's really. I just keep
It's
going back
hard.
to the fact that I don't know if, especially in upcoming generations, if what you do to make money has anything to do with who you are, or that you'll stick within the same
no, and like
field of work.
Yeah, totally. And well, I mean, if you switch from field of work, then you represent, and then etc. But no, I totally get what you're saying. And so, like I said, like this is just the initial, like this is just the very initial, like, hey, if we get, this is something that's not super hard to do because there's already a lot of structure behind this idea, and this is a very Marxist idea, anyways, basing it solely off of like in, and so, but I think if maybe that was your first, and then moving on, again, you'd have to have a very strong sense of leadership in the executive branch, which we want to guide this toward being a more autonomous, or not, maybe autonomous isn't the right word, but being more like where we were talking about earlier, where like in the future with technology and such, maybe you won't need this representation at all. It can just be, hey, if everyone individual, like bam, 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 and then if you like have decided to opt out of, the brain chip and not having a cell phone or whatever the cause is that you can't go do this on a daily basis, there'll be a polling place open year round in your city that's like, hey, you can come here every week and like see the new list of things and then you vote on it. And then like maybe at the end of the week is when like, all right, what's the tally of the votes? Cool, we're doing that every week. Yeah. But that way you can still get stuff done just as fast as you can in Congress. And that way you could digitally supply it. For instance, maybe you don't allow anyone to vote. This is something that we're talking about pastors. Maybe you don't allow anyone to vote until they've video from like the people who are pro this bill and the people who are against the bill. Right? Watch a video, a 2-minute video from both.
Swipe right.
Yeah.
Bill 207.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it might be that.
Oh my
It
god.
might be that. Like, how crazy are they? But like, this is things we have to be thinking about now and preparing ourselves. Because if we let, in my opinion, if we let capitalism decide exactly where this goes, you're still going to have massive poverty in the world. You're still going to have workers of being exploited. Whether that's your stay-at-home mom or your Fortune 500, like you're still being exploited by the system. And really, the only that top 1% is having it in what actually happens. So, I feel like the sooner we can stop that and like go to a more let people based, people decide style of government, whatever that looks like, the better off. But again, where the communism comes in rather than where a libertarian would come in, I think we need a very strong state to ensure that happens. Whereas a libertarian, like my father, is going to argue that, yeah, we need that. And so we need to eliminate the state aside from themselves. Whereas I placate capitalism again. Best case scenario, in worst case scenario, you're going to have monarchism controlled by the drug companies and everyone else who already had influence in a democratic society. The only people that are going to win in a libertarian society are the people that have the money. Right? Everyone else can go fuck off. Right? Whereas in a communist idea, a liberal communist, is you have a strong state to ensure everyone has the right they need, and that state is run by
Yeah.
So, sorry, I loaded a lot.
No, I think it's you. You invest so much into like your different things. You're like, there's just always been something like that I
Thank
someone
you.
who does, which is like really inspiring and exhausting. Hannah agrees that it is exhausting. Like I'm fully like I love everything you're saying, but then I also can sit here and through these last two subjects, and go like I'm agnostic. I believe everything happens for a reason, and I'm gonna like hope that it's like.
I hope that too.
Yeah, and I figured that you did, but like in my brain, I'm like, like I think it's interesting. I want to look more into like social, like socialist or whatever. Like, but like I say that but I'm not proud of it.
Totally.
Because like, I don't know. Like, and I feel good. I feel fine about it. Yeah. But it is interesting how much you want to dig, and maybe it's because I just am burned out. Systems of you're trying to think of solutions. You're trying
Yeah,
to
and that's kind of like why I started this podcast. It's that whole learning side. Like
you love absorbing.
I love absorbing as much shit as possible. Like I have to set limitations on my phone every day. Like I started doing where the whole phone is set up where I have to do a face screen or whatever it is where it scans my face and type in an 8-digit passcode in order to get into any app at 11 o'clock. Because otherwise I will sit on the news app. I will sit on podcasts and just play them all morning rather than like hanging out with my kids and shit like that. And I started to notice that. I was like, oh shit. I need to calm down. So now I have like 5 steps before I can even open a fucking app. And so that's helped a lot of me just going like, you know what, just put the phone away. Like I don't want to deal with like and it only opens it for 15 minutes. So as soon as that 15 minutes up, it makes me do it again. And so like when I want to check the news app for 15 minutes while I'm having my coffee. That's something I do every morning. Have my coffee, I look at the news app, the kids are eating breakfast, whatever. That's fine. And then that 15 minutes is up and it makes me do it again. And I have my coffee's finished. And, Oliver's waving his hands in the air saying he's all done with his breakfast. Like, okay, now we need to start our day. Yeah. Like hang out, we're doing some dishes, my phone is charging somewhere, like I don't care. And then the reason it's 1 o'clock. To leave, check a bunch of apps to see when the bus is coming. Yeah. Leave on the bus, and then while I'm on the bus, it's going to be on my fucking phone. So, but yeah. Anyways, tangent back again. I keep having to do this, but that's why I started this podcast because I wanted to like learn from other people and get other people's perspectives, especially because I have such a hard time like with having kids and stuff like that, making a lot of time to like go hang out with friends and other people. And so outside of work, it's basically like, well, I gotta get home because the kids are here, and like, I gotta be, I gotta get around, and I gotta be, which is totally true. But I kind of started this podcast slightly, well, mainly because I wanted to learn from other people and talk to other people about the subjects, stand on them in a way that could reach more people that are, maybe not having these conversations. I had my father-in-law on the other day, and he was a Trump supporter, and just like getting to know, like, hey, who's this person that voted for Democrat up until Trump, and like, what is this person? What is this person's brain? What are they working on? Because the left has this idea of, not saying you or I think this thing, but like everyone voted for Trump, and it's like, they're humans, and they have a reason, and so. It's that same general idea of just trying to learn and learn and learn from more personal experiences. Where, need more water?
I'm gonna get some.
Yeah, go do it. But I hope that makes sense.
No, that totally makes sense. just an extension of you being obsessed with taking in more information.
Yeah, and so like I had to set those limitations, and then I had to do this.
Have a concentrated amount of time. Is another concentrated amount of time where you can absorb information.
And it's set aside every week. Like I'm going to talk to someone new. So like I have to talk to my friends like you because in my brain it's not like I'm not allowed to have time with my friends or whatever. But in my brain I'm like there's more important things to do. There's more important things to read than to like talk to people. And they're like I have more responsibilities than I have more shit to watch than to talk. Like I have more documentaries. I have to watch more philosophy videos. And them into my eyeballs and my ears, like I have to. And so I like wanted to do this to just have a time to be like, I'm gonna sit down and talk or expand on the subject and actually talk about it and actually be able to even in a small way be able to like sit down and talk to my friends without being like not that I don't want to be friends with people, but like have an intentional conversation with them, not just
very intentional.
hey, what's up, dude? Okay, well, you're gonna go play Call of Duty. I'm gonna go, watch some new documentary about this shit, and so.
And it's not just like, oh yeah, we're just like.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, I know these things about you. Tell me about it. Yeah, and I think that that's interesting, and like even like early, like on the beginning of this, like, like explaining polyamory, or there's just so many different knowledge bases.
Well, and that, like, I started listening to Joe Rogan a lot a half ago, and that was something that really interested me. His podcast is that he's constantly getting this new information and talking to his friends and even expanding on stuff that friends he's been with for 15 years. Like, what? You got to tell me that story. I don't remember that shit, that story, And just having that forced time to talk with. And it wasn't like I want this show to be like a Joe Rogan podcast, but I was like, I think that there's value in what all of us have to say in all of our lives, and like maybe me talking to my friends and people I know in the same circumstances. Lightning, and so far it has. Like,
I mean, and also good job for you not having it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it wouldn't make for good friendships, nor would it make for good podcasts.
Oh,
if you're just like, yeah, like just agreeing with everything, or like, I already know about that.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's good that you are kind of awesome.
Yeah, like I think you're the first person I've talked to on this podcast that even shares slightly similar views of like wanting drinks.
Yeah, really?
Yeah. So you're the first person. Except Hannah.
I was
gonna say.
I could kind of hear that Hannah also was in that.
Yeah, no. So other than Hannah, you're the first person on.
Outside of living in your house.
Yes, outside of living in my house, you're the first person that I've had on that.
That's interesting.
Even slightly agrees with me. And so, and I'm interested in expanding on some of these same topics that we've started to expand on a little bit with those same people. And so, like a lot of them, the first podcast was where I just let's explain like what's happened the past 5 years since I moved. Like what's been going on in life. So that later pods, I don't have to go over that every single time. I can like when they bring up something, I'm like, hey, go watch episode 5, and then come back and check out this conversation that I have with Brenton. I don't know.
I feel like I did.
Probably have.
And like just listen to that episode.
Okay, cool.
The newest one.
Yeah. Did you watch it on Facebook?
No.
Oh, okay. So
is that the one
that's the one that and
okay. No, I listened to the first one.
I'm gonna try to like record it on Audacity on the computer and like try to get some audio off of it because it's a really good
That's a
pod.
good one.
But so the first one was just about like, hey, what are your political views? What are your, what are all the things you are?
Yeah.
Cool. And then the second one we did was like, let's expand on this idea of like Christian but questioning but not, and like in this weird limbo spot. That's was like this whole hour-long conversation was almost essentially just expanding
That one second.
that one subject. So just really good, and I'm so
Let's figure out a way to get
I'll get it on audio somehow.
get it auto release.
Audio.
But yeah, where are we at on time?
We're at 1:15, which is over most pods that I've done, but I don't really care.
I don't know. I was just checking in to see where we are. But no, I'm definitely. I switched to. I was late. I've been registered independent since. Since 18, I've been registered. Until 2016 election for the primaries, just to vote. I had to switch to Democratic Party to vote for the primaries. So that's how much I.
But yeah.
Putting that on record, especially if I'm like just me and Hannah are representing it right now.
Yeah, I was registered independent for a while, and then I switched before I moved. I feel like it was to try. Oh yeah, I switched to try and vote for Obama because my birthday is November 8th, and the election's November 9th. So I was like, maybe they'll let me in early voting and stuff. So I like. Somehow I was already signed up, or maybe I didn't that year. Maybe I switched a later year. Now that I think about it. Anyways, I remember trying to like sign up to register to vote. I'm like, hey, I'm only like hours off, and didn't have any of it. But yeah, and so so I didn't get to vote for Obama, which is fine.
Which was the re-election or the
the real, not the initial election. I'm so young. Only 20. Well, how old are we? 24?
My number only.
25.
My number only.
You're
You're such a different life.
What's that?
You're such a different life than other 25-year-olds, or than me, who is and has 2 roommates and doesn't have a job right now.
See, there's also another way to look at it. So I have 1 roommate that has a job and 2 roommates that just eat my shit all the fucking time and trash my house, and I have to clean up after them.
Yeah.
That's another way to look at it.
Getting
Looking at what?
TV time.
Oh yeah, they need TV time.
Sleep.
Yeah. You're not. I'm not.
That's true.
I'm not responsible for what they eat.
That's true. I am.
Or if they're like be happy like Hannah to be here.
Like what?
Like if you want, like I'm not responsible for my roommate. Like Caleb is responsible for your relationship.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So yes, I see what you're saying. They're still roommates. But
Yeah. No.
No, I just think age is so weird too. But
Yeah, like I even. Yeah, like a lot of. How old are you? They're like, oh, I'm 35. I'm like, oh, and you have a what? And like,
yeah,
there's this new guy at work that absolutely adoring. Awesome, but he's in his 30s and has this crazy long mullet, and it's just like the youngest soul I've met in a long time. So much older than me. Well, not so much, but like 10 years older than me, and it's just so interesting.
I've gotten so much younger the last 5 years. Like in the way that I think, and in the social circles that I'm in, and like just like I don't know, like I was so. I feel like since moving to Portland, like I got along, not in like a way of like I'm less responsible. Just like I didn't experience youth, like I didn't have a college time or like anything like that. I was married at 21, but I had been at like
You guys got married at Dash, or you
we got
proposed
engaged
at
at
yeah.
Nashville, which and to complete that story, continue that story. So Courtney and I, when we got divorced, like we're just best friends. Like we almost knew each other, brother and sister. Hugely dating. But we're going next week to the 20th anniversary shows in Philadelphia.
Oh,
so we're going on like a best friend trip to Philadelphia. She lives in Arizona now, but like meeting up in Philadelphia to like
awesome.
It's so stupid, but I love it.
It's so exciting. Yeah. How many dashboard shows will you have seen?
Over 100. I think I'm not being over 100. Literally over 100.
Yeah. Legit
shows, which is like fucking.
What's the name of the lead singer?
Chris.
Yeah, and like to the point where you guys are like gonna like if you saw Chris Carrabba at a coffee shop, you could feel comfortable going up.
For
hey, Chris, it's Eric.
Acquaintance.
Yes, I would not say friends, but
yeah. Like I'm not talking or whatever. But when me and Courtney like got divorced, like we emailed him and we're like, hey, just want you to know this.
Oh wow.
Like, he had a very heartfelt response.
Oh, that's nice.
And then like a year later, we were at the dashboard shaking together and just, are you guys about
yourself? Are you guys here together?
We're best friends. Yeah. So I don't have anything more to add. I wanted to make it this one.
You're fine. As I've said before, I'm the god of time here.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know if you have any other questions or any other thoughts.
Anna, did you have any questions? Does anyone? No one's typed anything. I know it's YouTube. So usually we do it on Facebook Live.
Yeah, and people like interact.
Yeah, but this is Facebook Live fucked me over last time. Well, to be fair, Facebook, I also forgot to press record on the audio. So I was like, oh shit, well, I'll just download because what I usually do is I just download the Facebook video. And, well, no, so I typically, if I'm recording properly, I have Audacity open, recording the audio at the same time I'm recording the video on Facebook. Yeah. So then I can just sync it all up because the Audacity audio is typically a little better than the Facebook Live audio. I don't know why, but it is. So I'll just sync those up for the YouTube and then put that out on YouTube after I've downloaded the video from Facebook. And then one other time in the past I've done this where I forgot to press record on Audacity. And so I downloaded the video from Facebook and then just turned that into a YouTube video. And then from after it was posted on YouTube, took it from YouTube and converted it into MP4 on one of those websites.
Yeah.
Or MP3, I mean. And so then I posted that audio on Anchor, which put podcast. So I tried to do. So I was like, oh, okay, well at least I can do that. Well, now every time I go to download it, so I can't. Like, I'm gonna have to.
Other people try to download it.
Yeah, exactly. Other people have tried to download it for me. It again just goes to the white screen. I've tried it on 2 different accounts on 3 different computers, and
yeah, you have to do like the screen record or like whatever.
Yeah, I'm gonna figure it out this week so I can get that. Yeah, so I've been trying to do that. But this time I actually pressed record on everything.
Good job. You weren't that high yet.
Yeah, no, I wasn't high at all. Like a few months ago, and then and then yesterday, just spread some of it on some toast, and I was so high, and it was only like a teaspoon of it. I was like, fuck, like I got good shit in here. So, well, I've smoked weed and I've had like almost a bottle of wine myself. I'm probably not gonna eat any weed tonight, but so you guys know,
I do have edibles in my pocket.
Oh,
but
shit.
I have not.
Shit. Do you like the gummies or do you like?
Yeah, usually get the gummies.
Yeah, when we go to the dispensary, we get these. What's the name of that brand with the brick? Brick of gummies.
I don't know.
It starts with a B. Anyways, so it looks like a normal size, like square gummy candy that you buy, right? And so in your head, you're thinking, oh, that's what I need to eat. It's this one gummy. But you look on the back side, and it tells you to cut this gummy that's like, I don't know, an inch by an inch into 10 pieces. And it's like, dude, there's 70 milligrams of THC in this whole brick.
Yeah.
Cut it into tenths. And there's like another few grams of THC. I always get the first time I got one, I was like, oh, do I eat this whole thing? And I was like, God, I read that because I almost took a bite out of this thing. I'm like, no, it's really good. Oh yeah, let's just replace your blood with THC.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I'm already a huge lightweight.
Yeah.
Which everyone gives a shit about.
Nobody, you give yourself shit about it. Nobody else.
Everyone at the bar gives me shit about like how I can have a beer.
Where are you working?
I work at Vault.
Okay.
Yeah, Vault Cocktail Lounge.
One of those, but yeah.
I
didn't know what it was.
the exec chef. It's a cocktail bar. And by exec chef, I mean I'm in charge of the menu. So it's a very small outfit. My kitchen's about the size of your cabinet. Are you opening chips, bro?
Because I've waited over an hour, so
I know, that's true. Yeah,
I get tips.
anyways, is there anything else you want to add?
I don't have anything to add.
I'm trying to think if I have one. What? No. Can of worms. Anyway,
I want a can of worms.
I was just gonna ask. I was gonna ask you, what are you into? Like what? Like if you. So for me, the general synopsis. Someone's like, "What are you into?" I'm gonna have a little short list of 3 things, which is philosophy, religion, and music. What would you say? Let's just say the 3 things, and then maybe we can expand on those next time you're
Sure.
on.
So the 3 things. I would say music, relationships, and that means like any kind. Romantic, sexual, anything like just I love that stuff. And then empathy. But just like how I
Yeah. All right, let's end it off there. Thanks for watching, listening to the podcast. Again, make sure you check out anchor.fm/schools and knives, Twitter,
Powered by
Facebook,
Anchor.
Instagram. But we're bought Anchor.
Powered by
I don't know why I promote that because I already have one. The only ad I have on is fucking Anchor.
Yeah, I love
the
that
beginning.
ad. It's my favorite because you can't say words.
Yeah, I can't say words fucking right. Well,
You better close out this podcast.
so we're good. And so I recorded that, and I thought about re-recording it, and I was like, no, I like the authenticity of like me fucking up and just doing like we're doing this in one take. Like that's what we're gonna do. Now it kind of like gives the feel of the whole pod. That was the one take. That might be the Anchor ad for fucking ever now. 3 years later, it's just like
I want to write down exactly how you say it and then perform it as you. You use that.
That'd be fun. Let's do that.
I don't think I have words right.
Anyways, like, comment, subscribe. Again, check out Rogue American. Make sure you check out the link in the bio and show notes. Thanks again, Eric.
Thank you, Caleb.
It's a pleasure. All right, let's end this shit. As always, we have the awkward ending for the audio. Are you sure you want the end stream? End? Yes.